Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alex with VidSwap.com. Welcome to day 3 of our yearly trainings that we do this time of the year as everything gets kicked off with our fall season and everybody's underway. So go ahead and give me a shout out in the questions there. Let me know that you guys can hear me, and then everything is good to go. You can see my mouse moving around, that everybody is good. Awesome. Sounds perfect. Okay, so let's get started here. Couple of housekeeping. So just remember that we record these sessions and we post them into our help area. And you can find these recordings when you go into the help area here. You can go to training, and this is where we have all of our past year trainings from the things that we've done, as well as the videos from this week that we're doing here. So we'll get this one posted either later today or by tomorrow morning. So you can always go in and watch this one, or you can watch the previous 2 days. And the biggest difference with our trainings this year that we've done in the past is I'm kind of just doing everything together. So some of you are soccer coaches, volleyball coaches, hockey coaches. I even think I saw, did I see a football guy in here? I think I saw Ryan, I see you on here too. Welcome. So some of this stuff is going to be not relevant. Some of it will be relevant. But what I'm going to try to do is cover as much as I can for everybody, just to make sure that we cover all the basics. We cover any new people who need to see how the systems work, how all that. And then I'm going to go into more detail about some of the data, things that are done, workflows of creating highlights, doing film sessions, and just some of that stuff. And so again, you're going to see a mix of a bunch of different things here that are relevant for everybody. But I'm not going to go too in depth of the specific data that we do for each individual sport, but just covering more of the bigger ideas and major features that everybody really needs to have a good base on that you can build on and then use and go from there. Okay. All right. So now, as I go through this, guys, if you have questions, right, go Shock Babe. So if you guys have questions, feel free to type in a question there as we go. And so what I'll do here is I'm just going to jump in, okay, and I'm going to start to talk about the interface here. So I'm logged into this is the Minnesota Gophers account here. The Minnesota Gopher soccer team, part of the Big Ten. The Big Ten uses us in soccer, and I'm gonna use their account. I know they always don't mind, just because they're here locally. They've been using us for a number of years, and so we're going to use this one and give you guys an idea of kind of what everything looks like. All right. So on our dashboard, okay, what we've got is a couple things. Now, most of you are conference users, college users, people who are using this for video exchange, sharing with the conference, the entire league. And so you're seeing a schedules area, the schedules app. This is basically exchange, right? Schedules is exchange, is what that is. Okay. And that's where all that is managed. So you're going in there, you're uploading your exchange video into there, you're scouting opponents in your schedules. You're doing most of your work in this schedules area. Now, for those of you that are individuals and you're not part of an entire league, an entire conference, you're not going to see that. Okay. You're just going to have your videos area that you're uploading everything into. But for those of you most of you that are part of leagues, you have a videos area where you might be uploading private video, things that aren't shared with the entire league. So when the Gophers here upload video for the Big Ten, they're uploading stuff into their private area like non-conference games, because they don't share non-conference games with the Big Ten, and they don't share spring games or preseason games. So they're going to upload those into their private videos area, so just their team can use them, and we can still break them down so they can use those. Okay. And then we have a playbook area. This is actually an add-on. So for a lot of you who try to click into there, you'll see that It is an add-on to be able to have, but basically it's like PowerPoint for sports. Okay, so it's a playbook creator that allows you to build a playbook. So for football, Ryan, you could your coaches could build their playbooks into here. They could create scout cards. They could do all those kind of things. For all of your other sports, it's building scatter reports. It's creating drawings on fields, on courts. It's all those kind of things that you want to do that maybe you're doing now in a program offline that's hard to collaborate, whereas this is online and all of your coaches can collaborate together, build, draw, and make those scatter reports, cards, set piece cards, all those diagrams of things that you want to do. Okay. Highlights. This is that ability to pull plays out and make film sessions, things that you want to use in your session with your players, or maybe to send off to college scouts, pro scouts, send off to an SID, an AD, or whatever it is, right? Create something. It's pulling something out, pulling plays out, whether it's one play or whether it's 80 plays that you want to then use to share or present to somebody. Reviews. This is a feature that for those who know about it and use it, they use the heck out of it. For those who don't know about it, never use it. So I would encourage you that if you haven't used it, get in there and start to play with it and see how it can be used, because it's really powerful. It's basically ability of, it's kind of like a teacher giving assignments to students, okay? And then you can measure how well they're using that, okay? And so you can target specific players. You can target your back four. You can target your hitters. You can target your quarterbacks. You can target just certain people that you want to be able to teach, okay? And then you can see how much they're actually looking at it. And then you can also engage them and have conversations inside of those reviews, okay? So again, take a look at those. We'll go into it and take a look at them too. But it's a feature that we see. It's either used a ton or it's not used at all. And if it's not used, it's usually because the coaches don't know it's there or they don't really know what it is. Statistics. This is a cumulative area where you can see stats and charts across one game up to 5 games up to a whole season. So you can start to pull trends out and see things that are happening, specifically with charts, like shot charts and distribution charts. Your roster, that is where you're going to give everybody access. And this is one of the most important areas where if you're a new team coming on board or you're a returning team, you're going in there and you're getting your team in so they can have access. And so if we click into this here, we can see that we've got all of our athletes here. So you're going to get your athletes in, give them access so they can log in. They can log in from any iPad, iPhone, computer. We've got a really great set of mobile apps that you can use. And when you do that, then it's going to send them an invitation. And sometimes those invitations get junked. And here's a good example of a player who hasn't created her login yet. I can see that. So maybe it got junked. So you can remind your players, or maybe the email was wrong. So I can click in and I can change the email, or maybe I want to update it, but I can resend an invitation out. Okay, and then I can get those players all in there. I can add my coaches in here too. Get your coaches added in there. And then guest logins, that's the ability to create just a simple guest login to share with, again, pro scouts, scouts. If you're a conference office, maybe you're creating a login for your referees and officials, that kind of thing. I don't think I see any conference people on here today. If there is, somebody give me a shout out if there's a conference office person in here, and I can talk a little bit about some of that stuff here. I don't think I see anybody today. So now the difference in the user types here. So an athlete, they don't have any rights or permissions to edit stuff, to change stuff, to do stuff they're not supposed to do. They can just log in, they can view, they can filter for things, and they can make their own highlights. And coaches have the ability to edit. They can edit, they can pull stuff out, they can update the roster, they can upload video, they can do all those things that coaches need to do. The only thing they can't see is the subscription information, payment information, invoicing, that kind of thing. whoever the main person is, that main admin in the account, is the person that is the one managing those invoices, managing payments, managing all of that. This opponents area here, this is for when you're uploading a video that's not a part of the schedule, not a part of the exchange stuff. Then this actually keeps track of any opponents you've added in there. So, for example, the Gophers have played Auburn in the past, and so if they play Auburn again this year, when they upload this game, then they'll be able to pick Auburn because they're already there as one of their opponents, and then maybe they want to make sure that their roster is updated. And because if there's any player tagging that's going to be done or that needs to be done, then they can ensure that that gets done because Auburn's in here, and then they can update the roster so all of that data can be done. Okay. Again, make sure you go in, get your rosters updated. One of the most common things that you'll do on a yearly basis is get players updated and added into seasons here. And so you don't need to delete players. Just as they graduate and they move on or they get traded or whatever it is, just make sure you either uncheck them if they don't need to log in from your login anymore. Okay. And then make sure they're added to your season. Because when they're added to the season, the 2018 season here, then they're available for my guys to tag in those games. And if they're not tagged as part of the season, then they won't show up in that 2018 rosters. So when these games get broken down, then they won't get tagged in anything. Okay. And then there are permissions too. So when you add players, you can specify the down below here the permissions of what they see. So just make sure you're checking all the things, video schedules, highlights, all those kind of things, that playbooks that you want them to have access to. Because if you don't check anything, then they can't see anything. And then when they can't see anything, then the only thing they could see is if you created reviews, things that you wanted to send out to those players. Okay, Al had a question about deleting a player. So I don't, welcome back, Al. I think this is day 3 for you. So I don't recommend deleting players because if you have players, like here, we'll use like Molly Fiedler here. All right, she's been on the Gophers team for 4 years. I think she's a senior this year, and so she's been in the system here, and she's been in 4 years worth of video. She's been tagged in 4 years worth of video. So there's all this data, all of this information on Molly that exists in all of these games for 4 years. So we don't want to delete her. We don't want to delete any data, delete her, or just remove her just because we don't need to, right? As we move into 2019, then they just don't add her to 2019. Okay. And then your 2019 roster, right? She just doesn't appear. She doesn't appear in this list anymore. And then if you want, you can let her still log in, or I can uncheck her so that Molly can't log in. Now, I haven't met too many coaches that have an issue with, seniors that have graduated being able to log in and access video for a period of time after that. But you can certainly uncheck them after a point in time and say, yeah, I don't want them to log in anymore. Okay. But it's just good habits that you don't have to delete people. You don't need to. You don't need to remove data, corrupt data, do anything like that, just because if they've been involved in so many games, so much information, there's just no need to. Okay. Yeah, so look, if you're putting together highlights or you're doing stuff after the fact, a year later, 2 years later, whatever it is, yeah, there's just no need to. You just don't need to remove a player entirely. Um, just doesn't need to happen. It's something that a lot of coaches think they have to do is delete a player after they're done, but it's not a habit you want to get into. You just don't need to. You just don't need to delete people unless they were a person who um, came on, was a part of the team, and then they were gone. Like probably the best example of that is like in a pro setting where, like for Ryan, who's the GM for an arena football team, he might have a player come in on a 2-day waiver. Maybe he gets a login and then he's gone after 2 days. Okay, you could delete him then, right? Because he wasn't even really a part of the team, but maybe he had access to watch some practice video or some of that, and he wasn't even tagged in anything, you know. And maybe he never even existed on the team and just doesn't need to be there at all. You know, that's a kind of a special use case where, yeah, okay, you could delete a guy then. So, all right, Joseph asked, what happens if we removed or deleted a kid that either we're done? Yeah, if you delete, if you delete them, you delete them and they're gone. It's not the end of the world. Um, I just wouldn't recommend doing it. It's just not a habit you want to get into doing. So that's all I would say is you could certainly do it if you want to. I just don't recommend doing it. Um, just because you just you don't want to delete people or things unless you have to. Right. So, well, we've always said it, Joe. We've been saying this for years that don't delete kids, but it's easily understandable why you were or why other coaches delete people. I would feel the same way. As I would be going in and deleting people too if I didn't think they needed to be there. But that's why we're talking about it now, right? Just making sure that you guys know you don't have to delete people. And I wouldn't recommend doing it. It's just not a good habit to be in. So just use your tags, use your season tags here to update the seasons that they're a part of what you are, okay, what that current year is. And then your roster here, this roster that I'm only seeing my current 2018 roster anyways, okay? So it's not showing me the roster from 2017. It's not showing me the roster from 2016. It's showing me my 2018 roster right now, okay? And then right here, I could change it. I could say, I want to see my 2017 roster. Now here's my 2017 roster. Okay, I could click and go back to 2013. But right now I'm on my 2018 roster, my current active one. Okay. And then if you've got players in here already and you want to update that, you can just do your check here, your multi-check, and then I can go to actions and I can update permissions or I can add players to seasons. So if you're updating your 2017 and 2018, you can just do a multi-check there and then add people. And then you can add in your incoming freshmen and your rookies or your new players, and then there you go. So roster management is really important. It's just one of those things that you always got to do. You always got to make sure it's updated. Everything is accurate there, especially when it comes to a sport like volleyball and soccer, where we're doing so much tagging on individual players. On all of those matches. Definitely got to have those updated because there's so many. I mean, in a soccer game, there could be 500 touches in a game, 500 pieces of data on a player or players, touching a ball. Same thing in volleyball. There's so many touches and clips that get tagged with a player that it's so important that at the beginning of the year you get this stuff updated, get it there, get it ready to go. So. Yeah, we'll get to that point, Joe. We'll talk about the score sheet and where those go and how that works. So we'll get to that spot here. Make sure that's clear there. So we are getting there. Okay, so let's go back to the dashboard here. Let's talk about what else is here. We've got just a simple file sharing document area. You could upload PDFs, docs, just simple upload. It's like Dropbox, Google Drive, that kind of a thing there. It's not really used that much. It's kind of an older area that's been there since the beginning that we just kind of never removed. The live area here, what this is it pertains to our live replay setups. And it's something that I'll talk about more at the end. But briefly, I can bring it up now. Basically, our live is we have these live replay kits that teams are using to film their games with up to 6 cameras that allows for instant replay. It allows for coach replay during the game, challenge replay for officials. It allows to be able to do broadcast streaming, if you want to improve how you're streaming games with multiple cameras. And then obviously it allows you to do the VidSwap filming and uploading directly from the iPad. So here's an example of at the Gopher game, they're using, this is one of our dual camera live kits where they're getting a wide and a tight shot, and it's recording right into the iPad. And then down on the bench here, they have an iPad that they're using to pull plays up during the game that can be used for coaching. Now, granted, some sports that's not legal, like NCAA volleyball does not allow that yet. I'm sure that's gonna change as a coach, but you guys can challenge calls, right? So you have the ability to do. In fact, I just sent Chuck Waddington's new kit down at San Angelo. He just got it today. They're going to be setting it up, getting it ready to go for this tournament he's got this weekend. And in fact, it looks he's got. I'll show you the. This is one of the arms. It looks like it's the camera on an arm mount here that they put up around the court, and then they've got the. There's a net cam that looks like this. It mounts up onto the net. And then actually we turn the camera sideways, so it gives you a really good vertical shot that goes up over the net there. But the point, again, of all this is it's a really great way to accomplish instant replay that's portable. These can be moved around. So like this particular kit that we sent down to Chuck, it's something that he's going to be able to use for his volleyball team. And then in the wintertime, the men's and women's basketball team can use it for their challenge replay. Okay. So it's going to be used for challenge replay where it's legal and allowed, specifically the college level and pro level. It can allow for coach replay, instant replay on the bench during the game where that's allowed, or maybe in between periods or at halftime, and then also for broadcast streaming. Okay, and so those teams who are using this, then they're uploading directly into their accounts here, and they go into the live area. So here I can see. These are some of the live sessions. They had a scrimmage, they had another game, then an SDSU game, then their Utah game that they filmed with their live kit here. So you can see this was them filming during their SDSU game, and then it recorded right into the iPad, and then they uploaded it right into the account there. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do with it there. Looks like here there's a question. Oh, the camera? It's not that big. Just you got to keep it into perspective. Like, I mean, for one thing, this camera that's on the net right here. I mean, this has got to be a good arm, a good heavy duty arm, because the chances of it taking a volleyball and getting hit is pretty highly likely, and so. The picture makes it probably look bigger than it is, but it's a really good rugged arm, and the camera's, it like fits in the palm of your hand. It's not too big of a camera, but and then this wire runs down in the net or in the pad here, and then it runs along the floor and it runs to the scoring table to a box. Then all the cameras feed into. So it's not as big as you think. I mean, granted, if you've never had one, yeah, adding that to it definitely makes it look big. But it's a really good rugged arm. It's much more rugged than what we've done in past years. So, but we're really, really happy and really excited about this particular setup, and we're excited to hear how it goes for Chuck with that new setup here. So, but. All right, so Al has a question. While doing this live video to upload for halftime usage, must you? Yeah, so it's a good question. So Al's asking, when you use the live video, do you have to actually have an internet connection? So to clarify, when you're using this system, so when they're filming it, it's recording into the iPad, and when they're on the bench using it, that has nothing to do with the internet. Right here, this system is creating its own private Wi-Fi. So that way, when they're on the bench with an iPad here, they're pulling the feeds from this iPad from the system. So it has nothing to do with connecting to the internet. Okay. And so, again, it's its own private closed system, right? That only these iPads and only these coaches are connecting to. Nobody else is connecting to it. Now, once the game is done, then you'll take the iPad and connect it to an internet connection where then it's going to upload and go up into your account after the fact. Okay. So this local network, this local connection that's being created is only for replay. It's only for video use, right? It's not for anything else. It's not for connecting to the internet or any of that kind of thing. Now, if you're going to do broadcast streaming, then there's another. You'll actually connect. There's another iPad you'll use, or maybe you'll use a computer, right, to plug into the network. Then that iPad or that computer you use, that then will be connected to the internet, taking the feeds and then pushing it up through the Switcher app up to your, Stretch Internet, to Sidearm, to Facebook, to YouTube, or whatever it is. That device would be for broadcast streaming. But for the purposes of this, for instant replay and coach replay and for VidSwap capturing, does not need to be connected to an internet connection. So, all right. So again, we can kind of talk about that a little bit later as we go here. We do have a store. If you go to our store, store.vidswap.com, we've got all of our kits for our single, dual angle. We've got high pod light kits, 25-foot poles. We've got all sorts of kits for our volleyball, basketball combo, our baseball, softball, just a whole bunch of different types of kits here where, the kit that I sent Chuck, theirs is this kit right here where they can use it for both volleyball and for basketball. So it's a portable kit. So, okay, let's go back here. So we've got a settings area too. This is for adding extra tags. So if you wanted to create some custom data that you guys wanted to do, or maybe you wanted to create some custom statistics or custom stat sheets, you can do that too. Okay, and that's what settings is for. Now, the bottom right, this is a help bubble. And I want to make really clear with everybody that you're going to need help, right? You're going to need to be able to ask questions. You're going to need to learn something. Or if you're having trouble, right? That's just the nature of technology and software, is needing support. And we pride ourselves on trying to do the best job that we can on helping you guys, helping people, responding to you guys the best we can. Now, when you need help, okay, it's natural for most of you who've dealt with me, or maybe you talk with me, or maybe you talk with my associate Chad. It's natural that you want to ask us questions and get tech support from us. If you guys want a faster response, okay, and you want to really get help right away, whether it's calling in or doing a chat, please go through this help area here. We pay our support guys to help you guys as fast as they can. And so sometimes when you try to call me or try to email me, I'm not always able to get back to you as fast as I can. Okay. So we pay those support guys to be there for you, to help you guys. So the channels that you have to get help are right here. You can type in a question. So you could say, I need some training, and it pulls up a list of results that you could go in. You could find a video, some documentation, or if you don't find something or you just want a live chat, you can do a live chat with one of my support guys, Jason, Kent. If I'm on there, if one of my other guys is on there, you can live chat with those guys here. Okay. You can also when you go to the main website, go to contact us. There's the support phone number that you can call in. And if you don't get somebody right away, maybe they're on the other line, you can leave a voicemail that puts in a support ticket. You can also email us, and that also puts in a support ticket. And then you can also access the help documentation, which is this area right here. All right, this help area right here that you can click in and find different things. Okay. And when you use these support channels, what that does is it goes into our support ticketing system, and then it lets everybody in my company know, all right, we've got a support issue with John. John needs help on this. That way, then the most people can get notified about it, so then somebody can get back to you as fast as possible. Okay. So please do use the support system. Go through those channels when you guys need help on something. Okay. All right, looks like there was a question here. So this is where I find the previous training from this week. Yeah, so when you go into the um, that help area there, this is where you can find training in here, all these videos that we're making and recording from this week here, right into here. Okay, so now the top right is where you can click on your name and you can adjust your username, password information. You can update your notifications. So there's notifications that get sent out and emailed out based on what you prefer, on things like whether a game was uploaded, whether it's available to view, highlights are available, whether a game had an error, or just all sorts of different types of things. So you can choose which notifications you want here. And then also your subscription, your invoice, login credits, all those kind of things are in here too if you're the main administrator. And a lot of times those invoices might get created and they get emailed out and you don't see them. Sometimes they get junked. You can always go in and find your invoice by going into here, and you've got a list of all your invoices, your payment histories, all of that. And then you can click into there and you can use a credit card to pay online, or you can forward those to your business office so that they can take care of it that way too. Okay. And again, just to be clear, sometimes people aren't aware that when you create a subscription with us, it is a yearly subscription. So it's a yearly subscription that renews once a year until you decide to cancel it. Okay. And those terms are listed there on the invoice, but it's a yearly subscription that renews until you decide to cancel it, decide to stop it. Okay. And then you've got an upload video button here. So anytime you need to upload your videos, you go right into here, click upload video, which we'll get to here in a moment. We'll talk about uploading for video, share and exchange, all that. And then you've got a credits button here too. And for some of you, you have credits. Some of you maybe don't see that. It just depends upon the conference deal, the package, the plan that you're on. A lot of you conference users, you may have some credits there that get allotted to you as part of the deal, or maybe you want to buy more because maybe not all of your games get broken down based on the deal, on the package that you guys have through the conference. Usually all games that get uploaded into a schedule get broken down. But if there's games that you're not uploading into the schedule for sharing, and you upload those privately, then those credits are used for that. So if you want games broken down privately, then you use credits to break those down. And then if you're an individual user and you don't have scheduled and don't do exchange with us at all, then your plan is purely based on credits. It's purely based on, all right, I've got 15 games or 20 games or 30 games, however many games you want to be able to use to have broken down. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into uploading for exchange and for sharing. So for most of you, again, you're uploading video for exchange, for your policies on conferences, all that kind of thing. And that's all done right into your schedules here. So you're going to log in, go to upload video, and it's going to start the upload wizard. And it's going to ask you, what are you uploading? And you're going to see, all right, private video. Again, this could be practice video, could be preseason scrimmage video, could be spring games. It could be anything that you're not sharing. And then there's the exchange schedule. So let's do that. Click next. And it's going to ask me which schedule am I uploading into. And this just shows me a list of all the schedules that we have from all the previous years, because the Big Ten's been with us for 3 years now. And I can choose where I'm uploading it. Or maybe you're a conference that has a couple schedules. There's a few of you who you might have a couple different schedules that are uploaded into, whether it's non-conference type schedule, a conference schedule, some kind of hybrid like that. But I'm going to go ahead and click upload for this 2018, and then it's going to ask me, what am I uploading? Okay. Now, this is where for some of you, it can be different. Okay. Some of you have a conference that enters all of the events in ahead of time. And so you're actually going to see a list of events that are that are already existing that you're responsible for. Some of you don't have that, and in the Big Ten, they don't. They don't actually create these events ahead of time. Some of our conferences just don't feel the need to, or others do. They feel like adding in those events helps keep everybody accountable because it does lock you out. So if you don't upload that event by a certain time, then it will lock you out and it'll force you to upload. Okay. But if those aren't entered in, it looks like this. And then I now specify, all right, what am I uploading? Is it a conference game, non-conference game? We'll say it's conference, click next. And then I fill in the information about what I'm uploading. So I'll say this was maybe Minnesota. We'll say we were in white. And then we'll say this was Illinois. We'll say they were in orange. And the link to stats. Now this is that area. I think Joe asked that question about the lineup sheets, the score sheets, all that. This is that area where we tell people to paste in a link to that scoring sheet, that lineup sheet, okay, that visual lineup sheet that you have. And the way to do this is it's not uploading a file, okay, it's pasting a link in. So you can use your phone and take a picture of it and put it in Dropbox. You can put it in Google Drive, put it in Google Docs, whatever it is. There's so many out there that we all have and use. Okay, and if you have a Gmail account, you have a Google Docs account, or you have a Google Drive account, or a lot of you probably have a Dropbox account. Okay, and you get that shareable link, and you put that link right in here. And then that link is what my guys can access for those scoring sheets or lineup sheets, as well as teams can access them too. Okay. They can grab those from the games when you put those in here. So don't put in a link to just a box score. Put in a link to those lineup sheets, those scoring sheets. And that's specific to soccer, volleyball, even hockey, and you guys there more than anything. And we do have a visual tool that's coming here shortly. I don't have a sample to show you on this one. I did show a sample of it in the last 2 days, where added to this wizard is there's going to be a visual map that you're going to be able to drag and drop players to show this is where my players are. So in a soccer example, you'll see a soccer field and you can drag and drop and put players into the formation and who's playing where, and then substitutions. Okay, and the same thing we'll have for volleyball. We'll have one for volleyball where you can put players where they're on the rotation and all that as well. So we've got that coming really shortly here too, to help supplement for just pasting in a link from that too. So, but for now, yeah, do the link. Use your phone, take a picture of it if you have to, or you can build one on whatever software, or if you're doing it in PowerPoint, whatever it is, you can do that, and then put a link from Dropbox, from Google Drive, from iCloud, or whatever it is into there for my guys to have. Okay, and then once I've done that, created the game date, game time, all of that there. Okay, I can also choose to remove audio or not. I click next, and then it's going to ask me, and this is part of that wizard here where it'll do the visual lineups here too, where you can say who played, where they played, all that. This is where now you'll specify, what am I uploading? Am I uploading from files, from an SD card, or am I uploading from a live session, right? So if you've got one of our live kits, then you can grab one of those live sessions that you uploaded from the iPad, okay? But if I'm uploading files, then I can click next. And then here, I'm going to designate what angle am I uploading, because we support up to 6 angles in our live kits. So there's some people filming up to 6 angles. In a soccer scenario, there's typically up to 4. We've got a wide and a tight, and then we've got 2 possible goal cams. In football, it's typically 2 shots, upwards of a sideline and a tight end zone shot. Volleyball, it can be upwards of, right now it's the 4, like the kit that Chuck has at San Angelo. He's got a 4-angle kit with a net cam, and he's got two cams for baselines, and then he's got a 4th cam that he can use for his scout camera, his VidSwap cam. And so you'll pick the angle you're uploading, right? I'm going to click the wide angle, and then I can choose the files. All All right, so I can navigate to my desktop or to my SD card, and we can grab those files. And you can choose 1 file, 3 files, 10 files. It doesn't matter. Just make sure that when you do that, they're in order. So if I go to some video files here and I select those, they're going to get added into the list here. Just make sure that they're in order, because the order that they're in is how they're going to get stitched together once they get up into the system, and then they get put in on the timeline. Okay, and that's specific to like timeline-based sports like soccer, basketball, hockey. You guys, not for football and all that, Ryan. You guys are starting the camera, on plays. Baseball, softball, football. They're stopping the camera. You might upload a game that's got 150 files or 200 files, that kind of thing. Okay, but if you're adding multiple angles, then I've added my first angle, and then I can add my tight angle. I can add a second angle here and do the same thing. I could grab files, add them in there, and then I can upload. And make sure that when you upload, your computer's sleep modes are turned off so that the computer doesn't fall asleep and kill the upload. One of the most common questions I get is, how long does an upload take? That depends upon your bandwidth. What kind of bandwidth do you have? How big of files you have? But we see, some like, okay, over at the Gopher Soccer Stadium, they've got an unbelievable connection in their stadium. They're uploading two angle HD, full HD games in under 5 minutes from the iPad, because that's how good of a connection they have. All right, so they're uploading games literally like in less than 5 minutes. But then sometimes you might be on a not so great connection where it could take 3 hours. All right. And if you're on the road, that's when it's the hardest. If you're at a Holiday Inn in, a whole bunk middle of nowhere, then it could take forever on their Wi-Fi. So use your phone as a hotspot, right? Use your LTE phone as a hotspot, and then that's going to speed up your upload and get that done pretty fast. Okay. Now let me show you from a perspective of, so here is the I don't think we had any conference people on here, right? So nobody spoke up about. I don't think we have any conference officials on here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you guys from what it looks like when events are actually entered in, because what the conference can do is they have an admin panel that they go in here. So this is the SEC soccer. So the SEC uses us for all their soccer teams here. So the SEC goes in and they enter in all these events. Okay, so they've entered in all these events here, and then they've set deadlines of when they need to be uploaded, all that kind of thing, who's responsible for it. And they also have the ability to turn people on and off. So they can go in, and if Alabama, if they violate a rule or do something, they can easily uncheck and take Alabama's access away. So that's what a conference can do. So all of you teams know that your conferences have this ability to be able to do that. They can take that away and kind of play God and give access, take away access, and just kind of keep everybody accountable for what they have to do. And then they can also put in the policy too. They can paste in a policy of what that policy is, so you guys know what it is and all that. Let me really quickly go back. I want to show you guys what it looks like from a team that has the events already entered in, what that kind of looks like, how that's a little bit different. So I'm going to go into LSU here. So here now I'm logged into LSU's account. So when I go to if I'm LSU and I'm uploading now, and I go into that 2018 schedule here to upload, this shows me now a list of preset games, preset events that I have to upload. So these are the ones I'm responsible for. So when I get to that 9:20 game against Auburn, I have to upload that. And if I don't upload it by a certain time, then I'm going to get locked out. Okay, and it's going to keep me accountable, right? So this is what that looks like. And then if for some reason my game isn't here, and maybe they made a mistake, or maybe a game got changed or canceled or something, then I can go to my game isn't here and I can manually add the game, just like I showed you in Minnesota's account. We can manually add it and then move forward and then get the game uploaded from there. So, all right, so let's go back here. So in terms of exchange and uploading, are there any other major questions on that before I kind of move on to some more in-depth features of actually pulling stuff up, looking at it? In fact, here, let me do this too. So in regards to the exchange part, right? So once you actually go into a schedule, let's just talk about like kind of how that looks. So when I go into the list of all the 2017 games here for the Big Ten, I've got my list of all my games here, who played who, the watch button on this game. I've got some stats, some shot charts here. I've got if it was logged or not broken down, who uploaded it or who created it, and then when it was uploaded, the date and the time. And then I've got actions on this game. So I can say, I can download the video if I need the files. I can email a link of this to somebody outside of the conference, maybe to a scout or somebody. I can report an issue with it. Or if there's a lineup sheet on here, when those lineup link gets added, you can access the lineup link from here. Okay. And then there's a search bar, so I could type in Minnesota. So it shows just Minnesota matches. And then I can check 2, 3, 4, 5 games at a time and then go to my actions here and say, all right, let's watch this. So then I could watch, a 3-game, a 4-game run of Minnesota here and start pulling out situations, start looking at those. Okay. So before I actually jump in and we start taking a look at what you can do with watching games, pulling up situations, pulling up data, creating highlights and all that, does anybody have any major questions on any exchanging, any uploading related questions, anything of that nature there before I move on to some more in-depth features here? Okay, so I'm going to continue on here. So let's go into one of these matches here. So we'll go into this Minnesota-Wisconsin match. And I'm going to click watch. And it's going to pull up my watch interface. And keep in mind that for most of you who are, again, soccer, volleyball coaches, basketball coaches, hockey coaches, this is what your interface looks like. For those of you who are like football, baseball, softball, so specifically Ryan, you guys, I don't know that I see any other football guys or any other types of those people on here. This is a little bit different than what you're going to see. You're not going to see the filtering in this manner. You've got that grid of play clips already there that you're pulling up, and you can click on. So I'm kind of speaking to the majority here of at least this filtering in this particular interface here. So let's talk about the player here and what we have. I've got my player controls, my play pause. I've got my slow motion, fast forward, skip forward and backwards 5 seconds. When there's multiple angles, I have a switch angle button here. It takes me between the 2 different angles or 3 or 4 different angles here. And I do have player controls. And so and keep in mind, guys, you're looking at my window through the GoToMeeting here. So as I play this, there's going to be a lag. It's not going to look smooth. It's not going to look like it does on your computer when you guys watch it, because you're looking through the GoToMeeting on my window as I play it here. Okay. I've also got these keyboard shortcuts. So the bottom row of your keys, your V key is your play pause. My B key, if I hold it down, is slow motion, and then I can tap it for frame by frame action. Okay. I've got my N key is my fast forward. My M key is skip forward. and then my Z key is my back 5, and then my shift key is my switch angle. And those are listed in the help area. Okay, a list of those keyboard shortcuts. Now the star button right here, what this is a quick clipper. And we made this for a couple of reasons. One of them primarily for players. So when players want to be able to easily go in and clip out highlights for themselves, they can do that on any video, regardless if it was tagged by us or not. As a coach, you can use this, again, to pull something out, to clip something up that maybe isn't related to anything, any filters we've tagged, or maybe it's a game or a practice video that wasn't tagged, and then you can use the quick clipper here to pull something out. So when I click on it, it pulls up an instance here that then I can change and make bigger or smaller, and then you can see there's the time bar here, so it shows me where I'm at, so I can then change how big or small I want to set this clip to. Okay, my ins and outs. And then once I've got the clip I want, I can clip right here and say clip. I'm going to give maybe the clip a name. We'll just call this 1. And then I can save it into a highlight. So I can pick the highlight that I want to share it into, or maybe create a brand new one. So I can maybe put this into this test 8. So now it takes that clip and it copies it into that highlight that I want to use. So again, a really, really simple, easy way to be able to clip anything out, any video clip, any situation, regardless of the filter or whatever it is I'm watching. Okay, so now the bottom here is our simple and our advanced filter. And by default, you're going to be in your simple filter. And what this is it's a really quick one-click way to pull up a filter of any of the situations that we're doing. And keep in mind that right now we're in a soccer example. So for those of you who are volleyball coaches, basketball coaches, hockey coaches, or football guys, this data obviously is different, right? But the application itself, the filtering mechanism, it's the same for everybody except for you football guys or baseball, softball guys. Okay, that's a little bit different. Well, for the rest of you, it's the same mechanism. It's just different data that's tagged. But on the simple filter, I can one click what I want to look at. So I could go to goals, click on goals by team, and then I could choose Wisconsin here, and it pulls up these 2 goals that Wisconsin scored automatically. All right, so imagine having a list of 3 or 4 games selected and then going in and picking, all right, I want to see all the goals by Minnesota over these 3 games. And then you can do that instantaneously, when you wake up that following morning. I can also do this for team player data. So when I scroll down, I can look at my athlete filters, and I could say I want to see goals by a player, or shots by a player, or touches by a player, or attacks by a player, whatever it is I'm looking for. Okay, I can do that on my simple filter here. Okay, it's just really simple one-click options. Now, the advanced filter is one of the more common ways that coaches will use and pull things up, because you can do any combination of anything you want. All right, and this is where you can really drill down into specific situations and get granular. For example, in a soccer situation, I could say I want to see every time Minnesota had the ball in the final third, or maybe I wanted to see every time Molly Fiedler had a forward pass in the final third. Okay, I can drill down. Or in a volleyball situation, I want to see every time a team was in a serve 1 rotation, or maybe I want to see every time Concordia St. Paul stud hitter had an attack when they were in a receive row 2. Right, I can drill down into such specific detail using this advanced filter. And it looks like this, where I could say, all right, Minnesota has the ball, attack third. I click apply. Now it pulls up that intersection, right? So this is every time then Minnesota had the ball in their final third. And then it's going to drill down and show me these are all, 44 different clips of when Minnesota had the ball in their final third, right? And I could get more specific to, here, we could do Minnesota's final third, and I could choose touches. So I could go here and say, I want to see, Molly, we'll do Molly here. I could do Molly Fiedler's touches in the final third. So here's her final third touches, right, where she touched the ball in the final third, all 9 of them, right? So it's being able to drill down into very specific details, very specific actions, in a really good way in any of our sports. In hockey, it could be I want to pull up every time we had a shot in a PP when it was a 5-on-4 situation, right? Or maybe in basketball, I want to see every set play that we had when we had a made basket. Okay. And in football, obviously, you guys can pull up specific filters by your columns. So you can pull up every time you had an offensive pass, that resulted in a touchdown. You can pull up a whole wealth of different types of situations there with that too. And in right here, so this inner and outer search here. Okay, so for you guys, for soccer, volleyball, hockey, all you guys, when you drill down into these types of filters now, by default, it's set to an inner search. And this is what this means. When I pull up an individual action that happens, it's going to show the inner search of that intersection, the smallest event, right? So it's going to show that individual shot that happened, right? So if I pull up, I want to see all the shots that happened in the final third. It's going to show those shots, right, in the third. If I change this to an outer search, now it's going to show the largest intersection. So if I'm pulling up final third shots, it's going to now show me all of those final third possessions that contained a shot. Okay, so it's an interesting way to tweak it. And it's really more used in like a basketball scenario where I want to see all the possessions that had a result of a made shot. I want to see the entire possession, right? Or maybe in volleyball, you wanted to see, all of the entire rallies where, Concordia had an attack by their stud hitter, right? I want to see the entire rally that involved this stud hitter's attack that she was involved in. Okay. So just another way to tweak it, but by default, it's on an inner search, allowing you to get real specific to an individual action, that turnover, that touch, that shot that you want to see. Now, when you pull up these filters, you have the ability to adjust the durations. This is a really common question that we get on filtering. I have the ability to click in and change the start time and the end times. Okay. So, and this is most common on things like shots and goals, where if there's, a goal, I want to see more lead time that led up to the goal. Like maybe there was a buildup. I can click in and I can add time to this. So now maybe it's 19-second clip. All right. That shows me that lead time that led up to it. Or I can click in and I can add time to the end of it. All right. So that's individually adjusting it on a clip. Or I can go down to the bottom here and I can adjust it globally. So if I've got a list of all 9 of these here, I can say I want to add 10 seconds to all of these plays. So now they all are 20-second durations and they all have a build-up, a lead-up of an additional 10 seconds. All right, so really easy ways to be able to add and adjust durations just based on maybe some things you wanted to see that weren't there on the clips that you pulled up. Now, when you add these to highlights, which is the next part of the workflow, I want to take plays out and make a film session because maybe my head coach says, hey, Alex, put together a film session on these 5 things. So when I go in tomorrow morning, I can pull my iPad out, go to the highlight, and then I can pull up that session that I can use to teach the players. When you do that, I can check plays that I like, right? And I can create a highlight. I can add these in and maybe make a new one or add them into a current highlight that we're using. All right. When you do that, this action copies this 20-second clip out and puts it into that highlight. Okay, it's the same kind of mechanism as when you're putting together a playlist, a music playlist for your workout, right? You've got 10 songs you want to listen to throughout your workout. It's the same mechanism. You're just copying these plays into that highlight. And what this is doing is it's copying that 20 seconds out. So if you make it and later you find that you want to change the duration, you're going to have to go back and then re-add the clip here. Okay, because this video that I'm looking at, this is the 90-minute video, right? That when I pull a filter up, it's referencing a point in time in that 90 minutes. And so when we make a highlight now, it copies this 20-second clip out, makes it its own, clip. So now that clip is something I can actually pull out and download out of the system if I wanted to do something else with it. Okay. So we're grabbing plays, we're adding it into a highlight or maybe even a review. Okay. We'll get to review after we talk about the highlight here. Okay. We're doing that. And then in the top left, this is your hamburger menu where I can switch over to highlights here. Now, before we do that, real quickly, the very top, we have a little, looks like a little pen. This is the timeline. This is the editing area. So understand that this is a full-fledged editor. So for those of you who've used GameBreaker or have used other software, this is a full-fledged editor that you can use and replace. You can go in here and you can edit and do things on your own in addition to what we've done, because this is where my guys do all the edits. On this timeline here, we use tag mode. We pop in and we use all these buttons here and our keyboards to be tagging things as the game is happening and creating all these instances. You guys can use this too. It's a place that you can go in, add your own custom edits, and do your own tagging in any way that you guys see fit. And because it's web-based, you have the ability to collaborate with as a staff together for multiple computers, and you can divvy out responsibilities, and you don't have to just do it from one computer. Now, the downside is that you do have to be connected to the internet to do it. You can't do it when you're offline. So you couldn't go in and start tagging video when you're sitting on a plane or sitting on a bus. So you would have to be connected to the internet to be able to use this interface to do some tagging. Okay. Okay, let's go into the highlights now, though. So we're in the highlights here, and I've got a list of my highlights. And what I can do now is I can click into it, and I've got a list of all these plays here. All right, all these plays that I've added. And I can click into the descriptions. I can change the text here that shows on the overlay while we watch it. But most importantly, when I get to a spot that I like, I can use my telestration tool, and I can use my pen, and I can draw on screen. I've got my editor over here that I can change colors. I can do different colors if I want to. I can do circles and squares. And again, I can change fill, right? So I can do fill. I can do dashed and dotted here. I can also do arrows and show paths, right? And when I use the arrow tool, it's one of my favorites. You basically click once to set an anchor point, and then I click again to set another anchor point. And then when I'm done, I can double click. Okay. And then it's automatically saves periodically every like few seconds. But when I want to save it, I can just click the check mark here to save my work. There's also a text tool. So I can click in and I can add text. I can change the color. I can change the size of the text. And I can also click on this little green G here, and I can change the orientation. So if I want to change the angle, I can do that too. And again, save my work. So now, every time it gets to this marker here, it's going to pause on that moment, and it's going to show these telestrations. Now in your settings, you can change how these telestrations show. So by default, they're going to pause and it's going to force you to have to interact with it to continue. I can change it to pause for 5 seconds and continue, or I can change it to have a 10-second delay, or I can turn it off entirely. I can press play and continue on. And I can, of course, add on more telestrations here too. I can add on more, throughout a clip. I can add multiple telestration points here if I need to. And I can also edit the order. If I don't like the order of the plays that I've added, I can go here, I can reorder, I can drag and drop and change the order of those plays too. And then I can download them, right? We talked about how these plays, these clips now are their own clips. So I can actually click in, I can grab them, and I can download them out. And I can do something else with them. Maybe it's drop them into iMovie, Final Cut, or something else that I have to do with these. Now, the next thing I can do is I can start making reviews. And remember, reviews are the ability to create assignments that I want to give out to my players. I can target my back four, I can target my quarterbacks, I can target my entire team, I can target my coaching staff, and I can measure how much they're engaged and what they're learning. So I can grab plays from a highlight, or I could grab them from the filters from the games as we're watching them too. Either way. But I can grab those and I can create a review now. And I can either add these plays to an existing review, okay, or I can create a brand new one. So I could create a brand new review here. We'll just call this review 3, week 4. I could put in some details here of look here, I can engage them, all of that. And then I can change my expiration. So expiration means that it's not relevant past maybe a week or 2 weeks or so, because what we tend to see is coaches that use reviews make a lot of reviews. And this is a way that automatically purges those reviews that just don't need to be here anymore. So I click that, click next, and I can pick my players and choose who I want to send them to here. So I'll just pick Chad and myself. And now that sends an email off to those players. And they can log in from their iPads, their iPhones, on the computer, all that, and go in and start to watch those. And just those players are going to see it. And so now when they log in, or if you go into it, I can now take a look and see this review. It looks very similar to a highlight, but now I've got a chat thread that we can have an ongoing conversation. So every time somebody adds a comment, you get notified. Everybody in there gets notified on what they can see, or they get notified on the comments, questions, all that, so you can engage them on different questions and dialogue that you have. And then on this review, there's a report that shows you how much your players have been looking at these. So how many views, when they started, when they last saw it, time spent, comments made, average sessions. So again, you get a good idea of what your players have been learning or not learning. And then you can make your adjustments off that. Okay, so I missed a couple of questions here. I kind of was deep in my my mode there. So let me go back and address. So Keaton had a question on essentially the outer search gives more time before and after the specific filter we choose. Yeah. So again, that outer search. So when you think about the outer and inner search mechanism, when you pull up multiple clips, multiple plays. In fact, here I'll show you a good visual representation of what I'm talking about. So when we go to a game, we'll go back to the Minnesota-Wisconsin game here. When we go into this, and you can see here, you see these instances, right? Okay. So let's say I'm looking at this instance right here. And if I'm pulling up multiple things, right, a multi-layered filter is going to pull up intersections of where these all intersect. And that inner, by default, pulls up the smallest one. So if the smallest one happens to be this set play, okay, that's the result I'm going to find. That's the result that's going to show me. It's that set piece, or it's that shot that's contained inside of this larger intersection. If I change it to outer, right, it's going to show me the largest intersection, which maybe happened to be this entire attack third clip. Okay. So that's what it means, inner and outer. An inner defaults to the smallest intersection, which could be a set piece, it could be a shot, it's some kind of smaller action, most likely. And an outer typically is an entire possession, it's an entire rally, it's an entire set play, or it's an entire zone, of something existing, or an entire PP or PK, right? That's just the difference there. And then Al had a question on concern that I have is that I'll mess something up. Does the program go back? In terms of messing something up, I mean, you can always edit and change it. You can always update or change what you've done. So you don't need to be too concerned. With deleting something. I mean, if you're in a filter, the filters don't mess anything up. So if you're updating like ins and outs here in a filter and changing the durations, that's only changing them when you're in this particular filter looking at this particular moment. It doesn't actually change the edits. Now, if you go into the timeline and you start dinking around with this and you start messing around with these edits, then yeah, it's going to change the actual editing of the game. And so that's why we've actually taken this timeline interface and we've separated it and put it in its own window so that it's not here, because most of our users don't interact with the timeline. Most of them don't. Really the only ones who do are the higher level ones, like a lot of our Division One coaches who like to go in and do additional editing and have experience doing these kind of things. But the majority of them don't. They're just in the filter and they're pulling up situations, pulling up clips, pulling up things that we've already tagged for them. Okay, or maybe they're using the quick clipper here to pull some things out that they saw that maybe we missed or that you wanted to pull out that we didn't tag. Okay, so no, I wouldn't worry too much about getting in there and doing that. Yeah, the durations, right? So the durations doesn't change or affect the editing. That's just in the moment that you're actually pulling a filter up and looking at it. So you can always change it and update it later or redo it. So it doesn't affect the editing. Doesn't mess up what you paid us to do. Okay, so let's go back to a game here. I want to talk a little bit about the statistics and charts here. So on every game, you'll see that there's a stats button here where I can see the individual statistics, individual stat sheets. So like if I look at the the individual advanced stats on this soccer game, I can see like, all right, Emily had 51 touches. She had 6 in the final third, different touches on set pieces here. Her passing, total passing, I can see her passing in the final third, divided into each third, her forward passes, all sorts of different things. So we've taken a really good snapshot of some of the more advanced things and simplified them. Because there's a ton of statistics. There's a ton of things you could look at that sometimes can get confusing, can get overwhelming. And so our stats are somewhat simplified, somewhat easier to look at, and somewhat to use and ingest. And then we've got our charts here. So we do shot charts and distribution charts on all of our sports, where I could see, a shot chart on this game of where these shots are coming from. And the left-hand side is a filter. This allows me to pick a team, a situation, a player that I want to look at. And then I've got 3 different types of views. So these are where these shots are coming from. I've also got a scatter chart of where they're coming from, and they're color coded. So I could say I don't want to see anything that's not maybe a shot on goal. And then I can see a heat map representation of these two. And these shot charts and distribution charts are really valuable when you're looking at multiple games. So when you go back to your stats app on your dashboard, this is where we can see a cumulative. So I could go to the Big Ten 2017 charts here. I can pick, let's pick, I could pick a team here, and then I could choose a shot chart from the field or from one of those locations there, and see trends. And so I can see trends across 5, 6, 7 games, right? Rather than just looking at it individually here, I can do that across that entire spread of games to see trends. Okay, and so this is how you can do that. Then I can pick a team. Here, we'll choose Illinois now. I could pick next, and then I can pick a chart that I want. We'll do that field chart, and then I can pick the games that I want to see. So here, let's pick these maybe 5 matches here. Click next, and so now this is going to pull up a shot chart, a cumulative shot chart across these 5 or 6 matches now that shows me trends. Shows me trends, maybe where Illinois is taking their shots from, or maybe I want to look at the opposite of where maybe Illinois is giving up shots, giving up goals, right? Those kind of things. All right, so really great way to be able to pull up trends across multiple games using those charts there. And then same thing goes for stats. You can pull up stats on individual players on a team. I can take a look at Molly's stats, Molly's passing over 6 games if I wanted to, over 3 games, and do that. And then I can also create more. If there's stats that you don't see that you want, or maybe you want to create your own specific stat sheet, you can get more in depth and go into your settings and create those. You can build stats and build stat sheets in a whole bunch of cool ways, like a lot of people do in Excel. You can do that in here, and how that relates to your video as well. I don't want to go too in depth with that on here, but just know that you have that ability to do that. You could start to go in here and start to play with that a little bit if you're interested in it, but you can build a whole bunch of different ways to do stats and stat sheets there on top of what we've done, the simplified stats that we kind of show there. So outside of that there, again, lastly, we talked about live. We can kind of end on it, but that live here is it's a great way to be able to accomplish a bunch of different things. And for most of you in conferences, you're gonna come across this. We're planting. If teams haven't already bought one, we're planting our live kits in almost every conference. So you guys are going to come across it by somebody, because instant replay is on everybody's mind right now. And the problem is nobody knows how to do it cost effectively and with a minimal amount of resources. And so everybody's worried about cost. They're worried about how to implement it. They're worried about all of that. And so then they look at all the pros and the Division I level people, like football teams and basketball teams, and then they get blown away by how much they're spending to do it. And so our systems are a really affordable, easy way to be able to accomplish that, and not have to spend a ton of money. And in fact, Ryan, you guys are a team where I don't know if they didn't really use it or whatever, but we need to get you guys up to speed on all that for you guys and on all of those, because these can be used for everybody. It can be used for the instant replay. It can be used for coach replay on the sidelines. It can be used for broadcast streaming, pushing multiple angles and video up to stretch internet, your providers, YouTube, whatever it happens to be, and just making all of that really easy and combining workflows. So you don't have to have a bunch of different workflows, or maybe you just never done it at all because you didn't know how to do it, or you just couldn't afford to have some of the other additional things to do it. Okay. But you can see that it's taking video, into the iPads, and then they're able to have iPads on the bench, pull up plays, use it as a coaching tool where it's legal, or it's making challenges in the game where that's legal. So especially in volleyball and soccer and basketball for NCAA. And then it's being able to upload seamlessly from the iPad. So this is pulling in, multiple angles, syncing them all together, and then uploading them from the iPad into the system. So, and you can find them on our store. If you go to store.vidswap.com, you can see all of our kits here. We've got our single angle, double angle. We've got our high pod 25-foot pole kits. We've got our combo kits for like volleyball and basketball, our hockey kits. We've got our baseball, softball with radar. And then we've got full athletic department kits where an AD could buy one kit that gets shared by a fall team, a winter team, and a spring team, right? And again, these kits are portable. So they're built to be able to be taken with you on the road, to be moved from one field to a court to another field, from different seasons and shared. So a really, really great way to be able to get a ton of different stuff out of video now, and then integrate it all in and have simple workflows. So, but outside of that, guys, are there any other final questions or final things that maybe I didn't cover, or maybe something that somebody had on their mind? This session definitely went a little bit long. I know there's a lot of information there. And I didn't really go too in depth on specific data for individual teams and sports. But, and for you soccer users, we are doing, the advanced breakdowns. So if you want to get upgraded on that, let us know. Or, we're tagging, on all of our soccer, we're pretty much tagging all the basic data plus player touches, passing, results off all that stuff there. So, contact us, let us know, get upgraded on all that stuff so you've got it. On average, we're breaking stuff down in about 4 hours. In 2017, our average was a 4-hour turnaround on all of our data. And so we pride ourselves on being really fast with all that stuff. So, but other than that, guys, contact us if you're interested in, moving on one of these live kits here, getting that running, getting that going. Or if you're looking to get upgraded on maybe soccer, advanced, or one of those other things there. So, but other than that, I appreciate your time, guys. Go to the help area, take a look at the past videos there. Join us tomorrow on my final day if you need to watch again, or take a look at the videos there from today or the previous days. So, other than that, guys, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. I know you got a lot going on. And let us know if there's anything else we can do for you guys.